Mhm. Hello, everyone. Good evening to everyone. Let's wait a moment and see. Yeah, I'm just gonna wait a few moments until someone is going to connect, and then we're gonna start 1 hour together. We're gonna be spending 1 hour together for this English Live on Bridges of Light, and it is the 20th of June. If anybody is there, if you write anything, and as always, ask questions. I love being asked questions. I love the interaction. And today we are going to be talking about the power of presence and action. While we wait for people to connect, I would like to thank you for being here right now, live with me. And also I'd like to thank everybody that is going to be watching this maybe in an hour, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a week time or whenever else. Hello, Gavin. How are you? It's great to see you here. And also, as always, I'll never get bored of saying this. I want to always thank the founder of the group, Gaetano Vivo, which, by the way, tomorrow is going to lead a global meditation. So I posted, on the site and also on my personal page, there's the Zoom link for you to be used. And yes, so let's all join together and raise the awareness of the planet. So great to see you, Gavin. Okay, let me just move this a little bit. Okay, I hope the sound is okay. The last few lives, I was experimenting with our headsets. We had headsets connected via Bluetooth and with wiring, and everybody told me, well, use the one with the wires because the quality is best. If anybody has got any questions, fire away. Hello, Wendy. Great to see you here. And okay, the reason why I wanted to talk about presence and action. Hello, Gaetano. Thank you. The reason why I wanted to talk about presence and action together, it's because normally when we think about being present, and that's absolutely true, we think about being in a meditative state, we think about being still and centered and of not moving at all, right? Which is spot on. That's what we can do if we choose to, and that's a very, very powerful practice. Although we can be absolutely centered in ourselves and coming from a place of stillness, although we can be fast, we can be moving, we can be organizing. I mean, if I think, for example, which is mind-blowing, what Gaetano has created, and is still having it to grow, this global community, I'm pretty sure that he comes from a place of stillness, where he knows what he's doing, his center is connected to his higher self, to the universe, he works a lot with angels and archangels, but it's not still, it's not acting, it's not doing what he's meant to do here. He's actually doing a lot, he's moving very, very, very fast. So this is just to stimulate you to think that to be present, we can be still and not move, although we can be just as present and be moving. Something else that I'd like you to consider, it's that I truly believe that ultimately, even someone that has never ever meditated and doesn't, hello May, great to see you here. Even somebody that has never meditated, even somebody that doesn't even know what the word being present means, he or she is always present. And what do I mean by that? Imagine that between your consciousness, and I mean you observing life, there is a screen, an invisible screen upon which is the interface between the concrete reality, for example, between me, Luca, and my iPad, and then there's some lights, there's a table, everything is concretely, objectively here around me, physically. Although between me and this reality, it is as if there was an invisible screen upon which there are images projected, and it could be something that I have done 5-10 minutes ago, it could be a memory, it could be a sentence that I hear, it could be a feeling. In other words, hello Evelyn, hello. There is, between us and the outside world, there is something in between, which I would like to call it today, just for the sake of knowing what we're talking about, the inner reality. And this inner reality is projected on this psychic screen. So in every given moment of life, we are either present to what is outside, and this is what normally spiritual people refer to. Like we think and we say, oh, he or she or I am present, when they are actually focused outside and they are where life is, where outside life is, and they are with us or with others. Although we could be present to our inner reality, we could be present to our screen. And the reason why I like to point this out is because if somebody doesn't know anything about presence or meditation, hasn't got any concept of it, he or she could think, oh, there's something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with anybody. It's that we are so used sometimes, and because of life circumstances, hello Evelyn, hello, welcome. We are so used to just be present to the movie, to the story, to the emotions. And that's okay. That is absolutely okay. That is the first starting point. Because unless we are in a state of peace, calmness, and we have a certain degree of awareness, and we have sorted out already our inner reality, our emotions, our thoughts, and whatever was unresolved, so to speak, chances are that we are not able to be present to the outside world. So it's okay to be present to the inside world, to the screen, because our attention is needed on the screen, it's needed in our turmoil, it's needed inside for us to sort it out. And this is again where action comes in. When I talk about action, I am not just talking about moving and doing something. Of course, we may have to move and do something. Because when we are not present to the outside world, because we are not in a peaceful state, because there is something unresolved, and so we can only be present to the movie, to whatever is on the screen, to our emotions, to our thoughts, to our troubles, there is something normally that is calling our attention. So what I invite people to do, and if there's anybody watching this live that is going through a challenging time, I would not tell you, although, yes, being present and being able to meditate is very powerful and is very good, and we will do something together to stimulate presence. We won't be meditating as such, but we will do something to enhance your ability to be present. Although, if you find it challenging to focus on the outside, my advice to you is be present to the movie, watch it, feel it. I mean, seriously, love it to death. Really get into the drama of the movie. And at the same time, ask yourself, what is this movie showing me? What is it of this movie that I don't like? And what would I like to be different in this inner movie, in this inner reality? And then you can act normally in two different ways. You can either do something that the movie is telling you that you need to do or not to do. I'll give you an example. The movie could be telling you that and making you understand that you don't like the job you're in, or the relationship you're in, or the place where you live. So what do? You act. You are present to the movie. You use the power of present, and then you act. What do? You look for another job. You try to sort out your relationship. You open your heart. You talk to your partner, or to if it's a friend involved or wherever it is. But you do something about it to repristinate the relationship, for example. Or you look for another house, another place to live. Or, thank you, I'll come to that, May. Or what you can do, if there's nothing you can do to change the movie or to change the outside reality. For example, if you're feeling sad because somebody dear to you has transitioned, has died, you can, if you are in resistance, if you're suffering because you're telling yourself something that adds to your suffering, you then still act psychically, emotionally. You change your perspective. I know it's really difficult. I know it's easier said than done in many situations. But if you ask yourself, what could be the hidden gift? What could I be learning out of this? What could be the awareness that I could be gaining out of this? And things then may shift. You know, there's a prayer. In English, it's called the serenity prayer. Some of you may know it, some of you may not know it, but I love it because I think it's a great modality. You could call it strategy to face situations in life. And it says something similar. Don't quote me word by word, but the sense is, God, you could say God, love, universe, life, please give me the courage to change what I can change, and the wisdom to accept what I cannot change. In other words, if I am feeling, if I'm suffering, and there's something I can do, I can act. I'm present to my suffering. I ask my suffering, why am I suffering? What is it that I can do to improve my life situation? Then if there's something I can do, I act. If there is nothing I can do, I would say you still act. I still act on my consciousness. I still change my perspective. I still acknowledge and accept what may be, and if I was suffering, yes, I was in resistance of. Now let me read, because I don't like to talk and go on my train of thoughts, because then I wonder, maybe you're not really turned on, and I get more engaged and alive when we start the conversation. So I'm going to read, and please ask questions. And the more challenging the questions, the more I love it. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you, I don't know. But I would give you my opinion. Okay. May says, at the end of the day, I reflect on my day and watch it like a movie. Beautiful, wonderfully said. That is a fantastic way of being present to our inner psychic and emotional reality. That's exactly the reality I'm talking about, that we could be present sometimes. And the other reality is the one outside, is the concrete reality. But these two reality are always operative simultaneously. That's why it's easier said than done to be totally thoughtless and completely, absolutely present. You know, we are really multitasking in many ways. In other words, I could be paying attention to what I see outside and what people say, but although at the same time, I can be thinking something and feeling something. But of course, the degree to which I'm more present to the inside reality or to the outside reality fluctuates and varies. And if there's one thing that I would like you to take away from this life, it's many of you, I'm pretty sure you're already doing this. And some of you may not be very open to this concept. So I would like you to become and start being, from now to forever, to become the observer and the observed. In other words, to develop what is called meta-awareness, meta-consciousness. When a part of you is literally looking at yourself, hello Mel, welcome. A part of you starts looking and watching at yourself, what you think, what you feel, what you look at. So a part of you now, you can decide and choose that is going to be the overseer of everything that is going on. What are you being present to now? To your inner world, to the whatever is projected on the screen, or to the outside reality, or a bit of both? A simple way to develop this kind of awareness, I find it, is to, as often as you can, I know it may sound a bit tedious as an exercise, but with practice it will become second nature. So every now and then, ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? And what am I being present to? In other words, if very often you check in yourself and you ask yourself, how am I feeling? And then you don't stop here, because then you want to also investigate and inquire, why am I feeling like this? And what am I being present to? And you will definitely make a link between the way you feel. It could be generated by a different, hello Tonya, welcome. It could be generated by a different array of things. But you could see that I'm feeling like this because he or she or them have said or behaved in a certain way, because the situation is this or that, or maybe because I'm actually present to a remembering, to a thought, to something that has happened a day ago, or maybe I'm feeling like this, which could be worried or excited about a projection in the future that I am imagining. Why this is so useful? Because this is at the base of self-awareness. It's at the base of knowing ourselves. Most of the time people feel emotions, and then they are at the mercy of these emotions, but they haven't really made a connection between their thoughts, their feelings, and what they are present to. If they did, and I basically always stimulate people to do that, is when they become aware of it, then they can become the master of their own focused attention. They know that if they want to feel in a certain way, they have to focus on particular things, or generate particular thoughts, or remember or imagine particular things. But these processes, until we decide we want to generate them, and this is how we create our own reality, because our outside reality will change when we become the master of our own inner reality, when we become first present to what we are present to, and then we act. That's why action is important. We don't just become aware of things, then we act. Then we choose intentionally what is it that works, and we do it, on what it is that doesn't work. And sometimes it may mean to do what is called a trial and error. Something may work for somebody, something may not work for somebody else. Again, I'm talking too much. Let me see if there's any more. Oh, no more questions or comments. Okay. Anybody would like to comment or ask me anything? If not, I invite everybody to do something together. Very simple, couldn't be simpler than this. While you keep doing what you're doing, Give, and there's a reason why I'm telling you give. Give as much energy as you can. Hello, Samra. Give as much energy as you can. Peace to you too. To what you are perceiving with your eyes. And I say give because the act of perceiving with our physical senses is a very, very active act process. So it requires energy. And what I am stimulating you to do now is to use as much as of your physical finite energy to be distributed in what you perceive with your physical senses, so that you are subtracting energy to your thinking ability. Because we normally either think, we are in our mind, or we are present in the here and now. I give you an example that gives you the idea. I believe I've been in that state of being years ago many times. I believe you've been in a situation where you were stressed, you were anxious, you were worried, and you weren't present. All you were present to was your worrying, your anxiety, but you could hardly even see or listen to people talking to you or what was going on outside. Very simple. It's because you're finite, and this is important because spiritually we are normally inclined to think, oh, we are infinite being and we have an infinite amount of energy at our disposals. Yes, we have at a spiritual level, esoteric level, although physically, at a physical level, no. We have a finite amount of energy. And where this energy is distributed is determining, is fundamental to the way we feel. So when we are worried, when we are anxious, all our energy is used to process information, to worry, to remember something we didn't like, or to project something in the future. But we don't have energy to be in the here and now. The other side of the spectrum, the other polarity, is when we find ourselves looking at the sunset. Time stops. It's so beautiful. No thoughts. It's just what we are looking at. Or we are doing a physical exercise that we like. Maybe we're just maybe even walking in a forest, and we are so taken by the beauty of the forest. Or we are running. Or we are playing something, an instrument. Or we are looking at a baby in his eyes or her eyes. Or an animal, a cat or a dog. Cats or dogs or children, they are very good at making us being present in the here and now. They take us away from our mind because they are literally conditioning the space they inhabit, because they're very present. They are not thinking much, and their presence grounds us. Okay? So these two polarities are when we are either thinking a lot or we are present in our senses. And this state of being, normally they happen automatically. Our attention gets drawn here or there, or by a memory. We don't know where we are, and then we find ourselves being somewhere else than where we would like to be. So the exercise that I'm having you to do is simply to train yourself to be in the here and now. The more you do it, the more it becomes second nature to you, and the more your life will be grounded, and chances are you will be more here, present, than in your head. As I always say, this is not an exercise we only do now, but I invite you to do it forever. If when you forget, you remember, you can tell yourself, "Ooh, okay, I'm gonna bring myself back to my senses." And then, by the way, your life will make sense. Because normally, and we even say, oh, my life doesn't make sense. Well, of course, life doesn't make sense most of the time, because we are not used to be in our senses. We are not used to, hello, Julia, we are not used to trust and feel with our senses. We have too much in our head. So, simply give more energy to what you perceive with your eyes, as if it was the first time you're looking at anything. And focus on something in particular. It may be me on the screen or something else. I am looking at the camera. And then also what you do is this. As you look at something in particular, I want you to pay attention to what is at the periphery of your visual field without moving your eyes. I'm looking at the camera now, but at the same time, I notice things that they are in my visual fields, but unless, and these are the two key words always, unless I intentionally choose to notice them, it's as if they weren't there. I can see a computer, I can see two lights, I can see two phones, I can see a bottle, I can see a glass, I can see a window. All these things are there, but if I don't choose to notice them, it's as if they weren't there. This simple exercise is expanding our consciousness immensely, and we are using so much energy to be in the here and now, and we are taking it away in our thinking processes. While we do this, what do? We give more energy to what we perceive with our ears. There may be sounds that now you notice that you weren't noticing before because you weren't paying attention to them. I can notice my voice, of course, but I can now also pay attention to the vibration of the engine of the fridge near me. The dogs outside sometimes. We've got some hens and chickens outside. I can sometimes hear them, you see. While we keep doing this, we give more energy to what we feel with our body. I always say this, now magically, a floor may have appeared under your feet or a chair under your bum. It's always been there, but unless you choose to be present to it, you don't know it's there. And while you keep doing this, you pay attention, you give more energy to your taste. Can you smell anything? I mean, your taste, can you taste anything? Can you smell anything? And then we bring it to the sixth sense. We have 5 physical senses, yes. Eyes, sight, hear, smell, taste, touch. But the 6th, we don't see it, but it's there. 6th sense. Go inside and feel your body. Can you feel it vibrating? If you don't feel anything, focus, concentrate on a part of your body. It could be your hands. As soon as I say that, I can feel them buzzing. Then you can expand the sensation to your elbow, your wrist, your elbows, your forearms, your shoulders, your neck, your head, and then down your chest, your belly. Can you feel it? I can really feel it on my body. Your thighs, your knee, your calf, your feet. I can feel my whole body tingling. And now, ask yourself, how am I feeling? And this is the question. Are you thinking less or more than before? Are you more present to your outside concrete objective reality or to your inner world, to what was on the screen? I am personally more focused on the outside reality because I simply distributed intentionally my physical energy where I chose it to be. Now, I could see somebody writing something, and because I like to answer a question and not talk to myself, let me write later. May is writing. What's your advice if we don't like to be present and distract from certain issues? Wonderful question. Now, let me just make this sure. Are you saying, what's your advice? We don't like to be present and distract from certain issues. Are you saying when we don't like to be present to what's happening outside and we don't like to deal with it? Or we are not present to what we feel inside? But either way, I would say, okay, I would think that naturally, normally, organically, we are going to avoid being present with either what is happening outside or what we feel inside until, well, but some people live all their life and they go through trials and tribulations of their life, and that's they die and nothing really has changed. Although if something happens or we decide that we want our life to change, I think that then we would address these issues. We would be present and face the music, so to speak, of what's happening outside or inside. But many people don't want to do that. And I would say most of the people on the planet are not ready to do that. And yes, they do exactly what you say. They don't like to be present and they distract themselves from issues. I mean, And we've got plenty of ways of doing that. We've got televisions. You could just watch mindless television. You could do whatever it is to distract yourself. And normally, by the way, this is important, when people distract themselves because they don't want to face issues, what they distract themselves with, it's not something they're passionate about. Because if they were passionate about what they do, they could only be passionate about it if they sort it out and be present to their inner issues or the outside reality that they don't like. So until they do that, they may look like they're having fun, but no, they're just distracting themselves. And yes, some people live all their life doing that. And then what happens normally in people's life? Two things that have to happen for them to think, okay, now I am going to become aware. It's either out of desperation, and I was one of them. I was desperate almost, and that's why I met who I met. I don't know if you know this story. I'm not going to tell you now, but things happen in my life. I used to take lots of drugs for 12 years. I used to drink. My mindset was very negative. So I was almost desperate. So out of desperation, I had to address things that were not working in my life. The other possibility of that happening is out of inspiration. In other words, somebody doesn't have to have reached rock bottom to think, I want to live in an happier and more serene and empowering way. They could be inspired. I hope that's what I'm doing here. You know, they could see that somebody else is living in a way that it's let's say, I don't like to use judgment value, but it's more fulfilling that how they were living it before, and they hear them saying that and they go, oh, you're inspiring me, so I'll start doing what you are doing. But why is it important? And thank you for the question, May. Why is it important to reach these two stages, either desperation or inspiration? Is because what we are talking about, which is being present and know what we are present at, in other words, to develop and become the observer and the observed, it is not a natural predisposition. Naturally, organically, our mind, it's an instrument that it's designed to look outside and to elaborate data. The mind very, very seldomly would look inside. And that's why either when it's really desperate or when it's really open to learn something new. But otherwise only looks outside and elaborates data outside. But when something really doesn't work, when you touch the bottom, then the mind is almost forced to look inside and go, okay, let me see what is it that I am doing that is not working. It's not an easy thing to do, but then you start addressing what you were not addressing. But it's not an easy thing to do, and it's not all very natural. I like to think and believe that now is becoming more and more easier and natural for new generation, or even for us, because we also evolved, even if new generation are already, they have almost an energetic and epigenetic software upgrade. But even for us, things are changing. But now, for example, the prefrontal cortex is growing. Now, things that we couldn't understand even just 50 years ago, we are open to. So yes, our mind is becoming more used to think in a different way and to be self-conscious of itself. Although it doesn't come naturally, and for some people it's really, really something that it's unthinkable almost. Ciao, Giulia. And the reason why I want to say that is because if you are dealing with people that you would be tempted, because we are all tempted, I think, sometimes to judge them as being no wanting to work on themselves, or being no good intended people, they think maybe they're mean or whatever. Remember me telling you, no, literally they're not aware of what they are present to. They're not aware of things that you may be aware of. And it's important to keep that in mind. They are not used to look at themselves. They're not used to introspection. They don't know how they behave, how they show up in the world. So if they haven't started to address what you may be writing about, things that they don't like, these are their blind spots. And I know because I had many. And if you don't know where your blind spots are, the old world could be telling you, hey, you should be paying attention to this and that. But for them, they don't exist. Like, no, they just know they're unsatisfied. They just know that they don't want to deal with certain things, but they don't know how to do it, and they don't even know what certain things are, because automatically their attention is drawn to the television program, to the distraction strategy, because the blind spot remain blind. That's why they're blind spots. So this is just to say that easier said than done sometimes for people. Life doesn't make sense. Yes, I believe life doesn't make sense if we don't listen to our senses. People that are very much in their head, very intellectualizing everything, and maybe very anxious. I was one of them. And you're not giving energy to your senses, so of course your life doesn't make sense. Have you ever been in a situation where you had that nudge, that gut feeling, your senses were telling you, yeah, go for it, regarding to a situation or a person, and then you talked yourself out of the situation or the relationship? No, but he isn't really, he's not, or she's not really somebody trustworthy. I'm not sure about this, or I'm not sure about that job. And then further on in time, you say to yourself, if I only had listened to my senses and not to my rational mind, or vice versa. Something told you, keep clear, this is not for you, but you reason, but it's not too bad, but it's a great opportunity. You talk yourself into it, and then again, if I just listen to my senses. So Mel is saying, a beautiful exercise. What about when you are in a busy environment or out with a group of people? Not so easy to be present. Absolutely, no, it's not so easy to be present. That's why these exercises, to build the foundation for them to be effective even in busy environment, it is more advisable to do them in a peaceful and quiet environment. That's why whenever we start doing any present exercise or meditating, normally it is said, well, find a comfortable place, a quiet place, because our mind is not used to be still. It's taken by lots of stimulus. So yes, if you were in a busy environment, it's difficult, too many things to be managing and taking care of. But if you start when you are on your own, and little by little you bring your attention onto something and maybe something else, and then you can go on and distribute it to whatever you want. That's why I have to use all your senses and to notice all you can see in your visual field. Then it becomes second nature, then it becomes habitual to you. But like with everything that we are talking about always in these lives, it's work, it's a process, being happy and being serene and peaceful inside, and comfortable with oneself, it's a choice. I am the first one to say, yes, happiness and serenity is a choice. Inner joy is a choice. But it means to work. It's not easy. It doesn't happen like this. No. And that's when it's funny, like people think that people that we regard as being yogi or masters or gurus, I'm just giving an idea, people that are very present, people that are happy inside, what do? They do something that other people don't do. They work on these things daily. They have a daily routine, which is like meditating. But even if they don't meditate formally, they have trained themselves so much that now for them it's normal to be more here than here. But they've been working on it a lot. And then comes along somebody that has never done anything like that, and they expect to have read a book about meditation or going to a seminar, and they want their life to change, and then they come back to me and they say, it doesn't work. And I'm like, hello, it doesn't work. Have you done that for like few years? And then we talk about it. If you do that, even just a tiny little bit, regularly for a few years, then we can talk. Then you'll be telling me, you know what? Yes, it did work. But of course, if we are not willing to put in the work to get to where we want to be and to be happy and create the life we want, it doesn't happen. That's one thing that we have to realize in this society. We can have everything like this, yes, We can buy things, but we cannot buy inner peace. We have to create inner peace, and we have to fuel it again and again. This is not something you can buy. In other words, you can buy a car, you can buy a computer, and it lasts for years. You cannot buy inner peace. You have to maintain it. You have to keep working at it. And that's the difference between the master and somebody that lives the drama of life. Because the master is always working behind the scene, is always creating the life he wants on a daily basis, on a moment by moment basis. That's why he's always present and he's always acting. What does it mean? He's watching, he knows what he's paying attention to, and he knows, I don't like this, I can change it, and I'll change it. And when do I change it? Now. The only appropriate moment to do anything, believe me, it's now. And the master knows it. Our soul, our essence, only lives and is present in the eternal moment of now. In fact, if you are not present, if you are bored, it's because you're not doing something you should be doing now. And your essence, your soul, you know what it's doing? I am bored with this nonsense and I'm going to stay somewhere else and I'm not here with you. But if we get into our senses and our soul knows what we have to do and we do it, and it's not easy. That's why my job here is to push people to do something they're terrified of, because I know they're not falling through a building. There's nothing to be afraid of. But that may mean, yes, that they have to swallow their pride and act, picking up the phone and saying to somebody, you know what, I am sorry. You know what, I love you. You know what, I don't want to do the job I'm doing anymore. You know what, I want to do this and that, and I didn't have the courage to honor my inner gut, my inner feeling. So that's what I mean by acting and acting now. And the master, by the way, knows this. The master is only honoring this, his own inner truth. He knows that his connection to his own soul and his life purpose is the only thing that matters to him. And of course, it doesn't harm and is respectful and polite of everyone else. But after he's done that, he acts upon to his own inner truth. And he's present and he acts. Most of the people, and I was one of them, that's why I say this, don't do that. Don't do that. They tell to themselves, I'll do it tomorrow. You know, I argue with somebody, or my relationship with my father or with my dad or with my friend is not good, but something will happen, I'll deal with it. And one day go by, and then it happens that you got so much to sort out and you don't even know where to start. Sorry. Let me read. Hey, Gozi, great to see you. I'm glad you're here. I'm very, very happy to see you here. Hello, Ezio. Buonasera to you. Wendy is saying, Luca, would you equate being present to being the witness, the observer? Yes, I do. That's why, Wendy, I say, I invite people, even people that they're not... they don't know what presence is, they don't know what meditation is. I think it's very useful for them to start being present to them, maybe not being present. I don't know if you were here at the very beginning, but I was saying, and I repeat it. And I repeat things, by the way, because I think it's very useful. This is not something else that some people overlook. The importance of repetition. They like to have new information of somebody in an hour to cover so many things, and it's so cool. And then after the hour, they're like, did I get anything from it? No. So let's just focus on one or two concepts and repeat them, and we interiorize them. So I was saying, Wendy, that I think we are always present. It's not a matter of somebody is more present than somebody else. But although spiritually, yes, we think being present means being in the here and now and notice what's happening outside. But if we are not present to what's happening outside, we are still present to our own inner reality. And people that they've never meditated, people that they are not present to what's happened outside, it simply means that they are present, but they're present to the inner world, to what's on the screen projected between them and reality. So if they start becoming the witness, meaning the observer, things will start shifting, meaning they start developing what is called meta-awareness. They start seeing everything from a meta perspective, from a different perspective, and they may detach a little bit and start seeing patterns that they couldn't notice when they were down, taken by their emotions and their thoughts. But if they start opening to the possibility, which is a reality, that they can actually watch and become present to what they're present, which could mean not being present outside, but being present to their turmoil, things naturally, organically start shifting. I hope I answered your question clearly enough. Otherwise, write to me and say, I didn't understand, it didn't make sense, and I'll try again. Hello, Samra, thank you. Yeah, experiment. Hello, Pamela, great seeing you here. Hello, sisters, yes. Mel says, avoid and distract. Yes, we live in a world of avoidance. And even that, I think if we don't judge this way of behaving, it is a survival strategy. Because for some people, it's almost impossible to even contemplate the idea of facing the music, so to speak. So for them, because they couldn't, or they don't want to, or the resistance is so great, what do? They distract themselves. And I do like to believe that they distract themselves until something will happen again. They get desperate or they get inspired, and then they will face the music. But until then, what we can do, and I say we, everybody, because we are all here on this group, I believe, because we want to be more of who we truly are. And so we want to live more peacefully and more happily. And I imagine, naturally, organically, we would want that for everybody else, of course. And I talk for experience. The more time goes on, the more I am being at peace with what I wasn't at peace before, which is to offer advice if somebody, let's say somebody I love, and I see that they're struggling with their life, maybe they're distracting themselves, maybe they're not present, or they're present to just what worries them and what makes them feel bad. And I could maybe tell them that there's another way, another possibility, but I wouldn't push it. I wouldn't push it on them, which I used to do in the past. And I used to be quite pushy. It gives the idea. And you know, that even turns them away even more. They get even more into the destructive strategy. And so, but that's a lesson for me, a lesson for us. We can be there on standby. Well, if you need me, I'm here. But unless you're ready and wanted my advice, my help, my assistance, I love you just the way you are, and do whatever you want to do and you want to experience. Ultimately, really, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yes, that's the push-pull effect. We won't change, but we get scared to stay. Yes, that's the push-pull effect. We won't change, but we get scared, so stay stuck. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Push and pull effect, exactly. Because we got two tendencies in our psychic and energetic and emotional system. One tendency, which is homostatics, which is the ego. The mind wants to protect ourselves from the fear that we all are most fearful of, which is others' negative judgment. So not to be judged, we don't get out from our comfort zone. Maybe we are suffering, but we don't challenge the status quo because we don't want to suffer, to face the music. But there's another tendency, which is the expansive one, which I believe is fueled by our essence, our soul, that that, you know what, our souls is conscious of the ultimate reality, which is that life is infinite, that what we call life, this physical life, it's literally a dot in infinity. So for the soul, a negative judgment that we could suffer from others, it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. Or being thrown out of where we live because of whatever happens, or a tragedy, it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. So it's pushing us to honor who we are, to never stop and to expand. But yes, you're right, there is a push and pull kind of dynamic. Samra says, look who you are today. Oh, thank you so much, Samra. Yes, I mean, but I believe that's who I am, who we all are. What we truly are, it's pure aliveness, pure consciousness. And yes, and before I was just denying everything that I know today to be true. The reason why I changed, but it's not that I changed, now I'm more of who I didn't know I was. Before I was very much the victims of my own mental conditioning, my own negative judgment and negative beliefs. And what I simply did, very synthetically, I stopped believing what I believed, and I opened myself up to the possibility that maybe life is different. Maybe there's a different way of living. Maybe I could choose to believe something different and things would change. And yes, it's incredible. Really, it's life outside life, objective life. It doesn't really exist. I mean, it does exist, but the way we perceive it, it's all up to us. It's all in here. All in our consciousness. Thank you. Thank you, May. You too. Thank you very much, May. By the way, Master, I should say, not May. Master. Desperation to inspiration, yes. My mantra from now on, thank you. Samra, you're speaking my language. Well, I think really that, let's say that I want to do a live once, the language of the mind and the language of the soul. But I think, yeah, we all speak deep down the same language. And I think we all know these things. Life is so simple. These things we are ingrained in us. We all know what we call the truth. But it's just that we're so conditioned to believing something that is not truthful, and we learn all these untruthful things and conditioning and behavior. But the great thing, the magic thing, is that it's enough to hear or listen or see the truth being presented somewhere, and inside of us resonate, and we go, whoa. And then again, it brings us up to our present and our senses. I think when our whole essence, our body tells us, it goes, woo, when there's this like, what is here? It's like it's our inner being, our soul saying, haha, this is the truth, pay attention. Which reminds me of what we were talking about a little ago. Our essence, our energy wants to live in the here and now and act fully. It wants to do everything full-heartedly. That's why unless we act and we change what doesn't work for us in our life, and we don't find out what our passion is, or we don't repristinate our relationship, maybe they're not serene, they're not as joyful as they could be, and definitely the one with our mother, our father, our brothers, our essence says, I don't want to play this game, I'm going to stay wherever else. But if we want our life to change, that's why asking is given. And we say, that's what I did years ago. I went, okay, if there's somebody, help me out. Wow, did he help me out? Yes. But I chose that I wanted to do. I chose to do what May was writing, what about when we avoid whatever? I had avoided the important issues for 32 years. And then I decided, okay, I want to look at my shit. And then our essence comes in and it goes, okay, let's look at the shit. And of course, it's a never-ending journey. You see, but it's thrilling. Then it becomes the level of course, there's always up and down. There's always days that you think, oh, sugar, it's not as easy as I would like it to be. I mean, that's life. But on the whole, the more we work on ourselves, the more we ask ourselves, what am I present to? And we develop a certain degree of presence to what's going on inside, and we sort it out. And then we have more energy to be present to the outside world. And the more we learn how to be more of who we truly are, and then it becomes amazing, because then it's almost like a snowball kind of process. Then everything else, it's little in comparison to this way of living life. Hello, Mattia. Great to see you here. Samra says, definitely, we need to do a lot of soul work. Yeah, it's never ending, I believe. Really, I truly believe that life itself, I mean, the whole life, it is never ending. It's like we'll never get anywhere. There isn't a finishing line. It's always being more and more of who we truly are, and it's just. I love that thoughts, because it gives me. This is almost a paradoxical thing. It gives me, but I'm asking you, it gives me lots of energy, thinking I want to do many things, but at the same time I'm thinking, and if I don't do whatever I want to do now in this lifetime, so what? I am certainly almost sure that I'm going to carry on somewhere else, and maybe another life, or who knows. And then I tell myself, because my rational mind kicks in and says, look, maybe that's all bananas. But I'm thinking, you know what? Even if it was bananas, it makes me feel great. And I'm present to myself and to life now, and I'm living it to the fullest. And you know what? Even if it's a story that makes me thrive in life, makes me happy. Which is the opposite story that you used to tell me before 2002. So in between two stories, which one would I choose? This one. Anyway, there are no shortcuts. Yeah, there are no shortcuts. There are distractions. Yes, distractions, but not shortcuts. True happiness, true inner peace is built day by day. We've got 3 minutes left. Antonella, hello Antonella. Mariella, if I say hello to you again, it's because I don't remember your name. I apologize. Ciao Mariella, good evening. Hello Danielina. Mariella says, today it's much more difficult to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, may I help you? Ooh, what do you mean? Today. Oh, it's a question. Okay. Mariella is asking, today it's much more difficult to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, may I help you? I'm not sure what you mean. It's much more difficult to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, may I help you? I really don't know what you mean. If you want to write to me in the comments, I will answer, but I don't know if I'm assuming this is a statement or a question. So I don't know what you mean. If it's difficult to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, may I help you? I think it depends. For some people it's difficult. I think for some people it's okay. Then again, I really believe that there's many different kind of people in life, and yeah, there's people that for them it's easy to say I'm sorry, for people are not. But if we want to generalize globally, I'd say maybe no, it's not so easy. Look at the world affairs right now. We're still people fighting, still believing in war in the name of peace. I mean, what a bigger contradiction could be there. So yes, it's not so easy for some people. I need to be less pushy, and tell me, Samra, I've been pushing forever, and I'm only truly learning that there's no need to push and pull, really. That's why when you're present to yourself, again, it's about being present and to life itself, and presence, I would say, to the perfection of what is. Because really, if we were present, but truly present, we could only understand and feel and acknowledge that everything is perfect. And we don't need to push, we don't need to pull, but just look at the perfection of it all and trying to understand, again, what is it that we could change, or what is it that we could work in our own consciousness to feel more at peace and to see the perfection we couldn't see before. And I truly believe that this action, which is not even outward reaction, thank you for that comment, it's very powerful. Now, we've come to the end of the hours have flown. Thank you very much. I'll keep reading the comments, and if there were any questions, I'll answer. Thank you. I love you very much, and I'm going to see you, I think it's Wednesday evening. I'm not sure at what time, but watch this space. I'll let you know. Normally it's about 7 o'clock you take time, but I don't want to say anything that may not be. Ciao. Have a great evening.